Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4053, 43. I'm not really sure about the exact number. Today's date is May 20, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 7:30 a.m. All right, should we jump? All right. So question is, how will I stop the coordinated attack? Okay, yeah. Okay, first of all, what is at least this question and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build an app called My Artifact. What exactly is this application? And what exactly is this application? When you write a diary, you cannot able to be write a diary the way that you wanted to. The reason is that your thought process are way much faster than your writing speed. Why does your writing speed is much more slower? Is because writing really required a lot of constraint. You need a pen, you need a paper, you need a convenience, and because of all those things, writing kind of like a became little bit of stressful, or became little bit of kind of like a something that like don't want to kind of like a write. Okay, so this is kind of like a something very feel like very terrible. Okay, that's why we cannot able to print the thoughts or write a thoughts that much clearly. But what if instead of writing a diary, what if we could record a diary, like a audio recorded diary? I call that audio recorded diary as a audio artifact or artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is My Artifact episode number 4000 and something. I am doing this thing for past 11 year, and I'm doing this thing every single day. Writing a diary or journaling is a self-reflection process. You actually connect with yourself. Because of writing a diary or recording a diary or recording an artifact, it is also a self-reflection process, and I am actually connect with myself when I record this diary or record this, because the self-reflection process, you actually connect with yourself more. The amount of value that I get from the artifact is like enormous. Like I cannot tell you that how much value that I get from this thing. The amount of value that I get from the artifact, I wanted to share this value to the people, so that people should supposed to be get the same value. People should supposed to be get the same kind of like things that I get from the artifact. But how do I supposed to share this process, this technicality? How do I supposed to share this thing? By building an application. Well, my application means My Artifact is a somewhat something like a YouTube platform. In a YouTube platform, you can kind of like somebody upload your video, other people see your video. It's the same. You actually record your artifact, upload your artifact in my platform, artifact platform. Other people listen your platform. The only one catch is that people will kind of like have their hide, like a people, their identity always been hidden. Like my real name is Saurabh Othare, but my artifact handle name would be Prozac 1943 or something else. So because of this thing, my privacy has always been intact. So this is kind of like a something, my application. Now before I wanted to build this application, I wanted to know all the possible consequences, specifically worst possible consequences, because there is no app or there is no kind of like a things are kind of like a creating or having this kind of like a some app which kind of like a somewhat something same like my application, like nothing really at all. Like Flipkart is a kind of like a copy of Amazon, or maybe like basically it's they are in same genre of app, e-commerce website or e-commerce application. My application is a social media application, but it's not a Facebook, it's not a Instagram, it's not a YouTube either. it's like a it's I don't know how do I supposed to explain. Okay, it's a kind of like you are connecting the people but without knowing the people, probably. This would be a kind of like a something my application. So basically is this thing I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences. So I went to ChatGPT, I tell my idea, and also suggest me almost like a hundreds of all the possible consequences that might goes wrong when I build the application, and how do I supposed to overcome it, how do I supposed to kind of like a somebody how do I supposed to kind of like a somebody that key fix or maybe solve the problem that happen in the future. So ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me hundreds of question. This is one of those question. By the way, the question actually in the mobile phone, but while recording, I cannot do anything at all. So that's why I wrote the question in here. Yeah, here. Sorry, I have to show you. This is the question I wrote here. This is the book that I'm reading. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Alright, yeah. So how will I stop the coordinated attack? Okay, yeah. What's a coordinated attack? A coordinated attack means like that, kind of like a something that he, um, okay. Some people are utilize artifact for right purposes to record artifact and things and that. But some people will utilize artifact for wrong purposes too, and that wrong purposes would be kind of like a very kind of like a dangerous. Why? Is because of that ki artifact is directly went inside your head. Okay, like basically it's thoughts. Okay, yeah. And when you listen that thoughts went inside of you. Like basically, let me tell you one thing now. Most of the kind of like a content creation are kind of like a somebody try to engage the people, try to get the people head. But most of the application are fail to do that because of kind of like a something that key, I don't know, it's a kind of like a thing is that na ki artifact is a kind of like a thing is that na ki you are connecting as a human, like you are connecting as a other human, and that's a kind of like something very unique thing in itself. Because of that key there is no screen, there is no show off. The people who are you are listening, they are also same people too, they are also facing the same problem too. You might get resonate more with the people who kind of like a recording artifact and things and that, and you realize that ki their story and your story is somewhat something really same, even if that particular person is a kind of like a somebody millions miles away from you, still that particular person's story is kind of like a somewhat something associate or resonate with you, because this is also human and kind of like the same situation happened. We are also same human too, we are not kind of like somebody have different species. So because of this thing, artifact is actually connect that human or one particular person human is a kind of like a telling the real fact that what he been through and things like that, and one particular person he's kind of like experiencing the same fact. Artifact connect them, that is called artifact. Okay, so basically is this thing a user will kind of like a highly engage with the artifact too much, more than YouTube, more than Instagram and things like that. But still I might not gonna say that engagement, because if I'm gonna say engagement means like that people might gonna say like comments and kind of like a subscribe and things and that. Well, yeah, that is also engagement too, but still is this thing na ki I don't know how I'm supposed to explain this thing. It's a kind of like a you connect with yourself, or maybe you connect with that particular person, probably. Okay, yeah, but artifact is kind of like, yeah, it just legitly you connect with that particular person a lot. So because of this thing, artifact is higher chances of more engagement to the people. It creates more engagement than any other social media platform, I think. I'm not really sure, I think. Okay, yeah. So people will kind of like utilize this power for wrong purposes, like basically is this thing, let's just say political kind of like assembly, political kind of like assembly, like a things like let me tell you one thing na ki if there is an election actually happened, let's just say in India, election is kind of like something very big and very huge. Okay, yeah. And basically manipulating voters are kind of like something very wide practices in here in India. Now, practically, you cannot do that in our country. Why? Because of that, there is a lot of laws and things and that. But when you went to the digital, on the digital surface, that laws are kind of like a very much kind of like something very very fragile or very broken. Like basically it's this thing in the digital world, people, anyone can kind of like somebody record the mobile phone and kind of like said this thing that ki, this particular government kind of like did this shit and this particular government did this shit. Is because of that ki, digital world is kind of like giving every user a kind of like a free speech to kind of like a things and that. And by the way, in India we don't really have any censor, nothing at all. Like in China they have a kind of like a censor of everything. Like they kind of like a block, their government decided to block everything they could able to do this thing. But in India nothing really at all. India is a free country, everyone have their opinion and everyone kind of like somebody share their opinion on the internet and things and that. Okay, so basically is this thing that what if some people are kind of like somebody utilizing artifact for kind of like somebody sharing their political drama, okay, or kind of like some political change or things and that, or maybe kind of like targeting other political party. So in that situation, how does artifact will kind of like make sure that this will not gonna happen? Because it's kind of like somebody is this thing, it's manipulating the voters. Because of that as I mentioned, the artifact is kind of like manipulating humans. So whatever the other people says and things and that higher chances that they will gonna implement in the real life. So probably is this thing, that's why the people might gonna utilize artifact for kind of like for their short term achieving goals and things and that political drama probably. Another thing is that basically religion hate speeches, okay, and kind of like a lot of things, okay. Like it's like basically it's this thing, I am actually giving artifact giving freedom to everybody, that whatever they wanted to speak they can speak, okay. But people can talk or people can speak or people can talk very stupid shit too, okay. And that's a kind of like a things, you cannot change people, the people who they are, that is what it is. So in that situation, if the people are kind of like utilizing artifact for these wrong purposes, like hate speeches or political drama or attacking, okay, yeah, like attacking means like that na ki, like this particular minister is a kind of like a not so good and things and that. So hundreds of kind of like a artifact are kind of like talking about this particular stuff. So this is also, yeah. So in that situation, how do you supposed to be kind of like figure it out that situation? Okay, so let me tell you one thing, that from internet point of perspective, how things goes viral. Like basically I'm talking about the viral point of perspective, then I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so basically let's talk about the Instagram, let's talk about the YouTube. In YouTube or Instagram platform, they have a kind of like something like trending section. Means like that whatever the kind of like a trending in your country, like whatever most of people are kind of like watching which type of content, they are kind of like showing on that trending page, and which is kind of like something a kind of like something things that a problem, okay. Because basically is this thing, YouTube and Instagram, they are kind of like, okay, let me tell you one thing, why does YouTube and Instagram, they are kind of like have this trending page. They have their trending page is because of that like basically important, okay, yeah. Those are companies, Instagram, Facebook or YouTube, these are companies, okay. And they are kind of like selling their services not for free, they are wanted to earn money. And how they earn money is because of that, making customer on their platform more time. So when the customer actually spend more time on that platform, they will kind of like showing the advertisement, and from the advertisement company kind of like earning money. So this is kind of like their model. So they are wanted to kind of like something that key people should supposed to be spend more and more time on their platform to kind of like earn money and things and that. And another thing is that key my platform, my Artifact platform, is not a platform there where I could able to be earn money. Like basically I am the owner, I am the chairman, I could able to be earn money from the advertisement. Why not? It's because of that it's not really possible for me to kind of like I was actually thinking that na ki, like let's have kind of like a model of YouTube. Okay, in the YouTube platform, YouTube kind of like showing the advertisement start, end, middle, वगैरह, and YouTube actually earn money from the advertisement. But I cannot able to do this thing, or even if I try to do this thing, it's not really possible for me. Okay, why? Let me tell you why. Okay, so basically, let me tell you one thing now. When you consume any piece of content, you need a two thing: audio and video. Audio is for confirmation, video for visual confirmation. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, you are kind of like getting my visuals, and you are kind of like getting my stuff that you are kind of like listening right now. These are two essential pieces. After that, both pieces combine and consider as a content. My artifact is not a content. Okay, is not considered as a content. It's considered as a, I'm not really sure, but it's not a content. A content really required a video plus audio, then it combined, then it kind of like a things like a kind of like a typical short which has a video and audio combined, a YouTube video, audio and video combined, a reel, audio and video combined. But Artifact is not a video, just audio, and because of it just audio, it does not represent as a content. Okay, I consider as an artifact. Now another thing is that na ki artifact, people are like when you execute a content, you need a kind of like a particular kind of like a something that ki particular technicality or particular technique to execute the content. The hook, the 3-second rule, engagement, music and things and that to make sure that it's considered as a content. Artifact is a raw, it's unfiltered, there is no background score, there is no hook, there is no kind of like a things, there is no engagement. If the user wanted to talk freely, they could talk, they could take pause, they could take things. And another thing is that na ki content are edited. You cannot edit the artifact. Whatever you speak, it just printed out there with the pauses and things and that. So the problem is that na ki artifact is not a content, is not a kind of like a things that ki people kind of like a get engaged. People get engaged when the people are resonate with that thought process. A normal people does not able to be engaged. Let me kind of like explain. Let's just say is this thing that ki YouTube is kind of like recommend me a kind of like a video about hockey. Okay, a kind of like a short video that ki how a one particular person hit the goal with a kind of like a very skillful way and that. Now, am I hockey person? No. Am I like hockey person? Like, am I like hockey sports? No. Do I kind of like assembly have any kind of like resonate with the hockey? No. Then why did I kind of like watch that hockey video? It's because of that YouTube recommend me that. I kind of like watching, and basically because of the video and things and that I kind of like a hook engage, and I kind of like a watch for at least like a 30 or 40 seconds. Okay, so basically I watch like basically this particular content or this particular hockey does not resonate with me, but still I watch is because of that audio and video combined with the sound effects and things and that. Okay, but Artifact does not. Like basically Artifact is such a way when the user are kind of like recording something regarding about their life or something that user should supposed to be resonant. The only user will kind of like listen this particular person Artifact when that particular person resonate with this particular person, resonate with his thought process and things and that. Okay, like basically it's this thing that a particular person are recording Artifact regarding about how the business is tough, how the started is tough, and he was kind of like letting all the frustration and things and that. Now how many people resonate with this particular guy? Obviously very less people. And also another thing is that let me tell you a thing, in the content creation, every piece of content are executed in such a way that user kind of like get the exact information in fast as possible. But this particular person talking, when you're talking, recording artifact, he just talk about at the beginning kind of like basically is this thing na ki that particular person talking about something business stuff, it takes longer time that what he been talking about. Example, I watch a short video about a hockey. How do I know that video is hockey? Is because of I am actually seeing a particular person playing a hockey. So I know that I'm watching a video about hockey. And this actually happened within a second or less than a second. But artifact is a audio. There is no visual. There is nothing really at all. So basically just a audio and you are kind of like listening the audio. So it's a very difficult for the other user to kind of like listen at least like a 2-3 minute of what he is talking about. Like for the 2-3 minute, that particular person does not know that particular person talking about what. And this is what kind of like a things that he basically, that's what kind of like some is this thing, make sure that he the people will not gonna resonate more. The people who only resonate with this particular guy, who kind of like a wait for that, or who already kind of like somebody have their audience, and that audience already knew that this particular person going through the start of failure and things and that. So basically those people will stay and those people will kind of like watch that or listen that artifact. Like let me kind of like tell you in number point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So let's just say a hockey video, even if I'm not really sure, I'm not a kind of like a hockey player, that subject does not really associate with me, but still that hockey video will kind of like get almost like a maybe like 10,000 views or 20,000 views depending upon how many subscriber and things and that. Okay, but let's take a kind of like a fresh channel who kind of like uploaded that hockey video, might gonna get maybe 1,000 views probably. In Instagram platform probably 2,000 views. Okay, but in artifact platform, if the particular person talking about the kind of like some startup or things or maybe same hockey, the people who kind of like listen that artifact would be very less, maybe kind of like maybe less than 10 probably. Okay, but the one of the biggest positive thing is that now those 10 people are listening that particular person artifact are legit genuine people, and they are kind of like wanted to know that particular person and things and that. Okay, so it's a kind of like a things. Let me kind of like tell you regarding about the engagement. The more engagement that you have, means like that likes and comments and things and that, the less resonate the I don't know, I'm not like, I don't know, I'm kind of like a right or wrong, I'm not really sure about this thing, maybe I'm completely wrong, but what I think, maybe this kind of like some equation does not match with the content creation probably, but what I realize, okay, I might be wrong, but what I think, okay, so basically is this thing that the more engagement that you have in social media platform, YouTube, Instagram platform, is because of likes, comments, video, audio, and kind of like a sound effects and things and that getting more engagement. Okay, yeah. But that engagement goes to the video, not the person who kind of like make a video. Okay, so this is kind of like a things. But in artifact platform is a kind of like a things that there is very less engagement. You cannot able to do comment, like comment section is actually available, but when you after you read the entire artifact, then comment is enabled, likes and probably follow. But the problem is that very low engagement actually happen in artifact, and because of very low engagement actually happen, very less people have engagement, but whoever the people they are engaged, they are resonate with the user more than the kind of like other social media platform. Probably I'm not understanding the context, maybe I'm completely wrong, I don't know about that particular stuff. Okay, so basically we talk about the engagement. Okay, and that's why kind of like something YouTube and Instagram, they have a kind of like something that trending section, means like that they are not selling the user profile, they are selling the user content. Okay, that what kind of like a user content are kind of like a really good and things and that. So that's why most of people are kind of like I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm not really sure about this thing. Okay, but trending section is kind of like a somewhat something work like that way. Now let's talk about the artifact. Like as I mentioned that key, like a okay, like right now what I'm not, I don't really have any kind of like a sample data regarding about that. But what I think about that na ki artifact is not meant to be kind of like a some this thing that ki more and more people kind of like listening the artifact, and I would supposed to be earn so much amount of money through the advertisement. Nothing really at all. So my biggest revenue of the money will not gonna earn from the advertisement, like a YouTube and Instagram reel. It's not. And even if that na, even if I'm kind of like allowing kind of like a something that ki art like advertisement, how it should supposed to be like basically should those advertisement in the audio or video, or what is that licensing, I'm not really sure. But because of what I think, probably I will not gonna kind of like somebody that he earn lot of amount of money through advertisement. So basically it's this thing, like I have kind of like another plan that how I supposed to be earn money through artifact, through Adam and things and that. But still is this thing that key advertisement is not the kind of like a things that I would supposed to be earn money. So my goal is a kind of like a very much clear that if I am not earning money from the advertisement, then I have to be kind of like a cater a kind of like a something my services to a right outcome, to a right possible things. Like it's my responsibility to kind of like a share a good artifact to the people, not a bad artifact. Even if the bad artifact kind of like a create a lot of influence or kind of like a lot of connection or a lot of people might gonna resonate, I will not gonna kind of like a simply push that artifact to the more and more people. I will kind of like a push such an artifact that kind of like a something, even if those artifacts are kind of like a very difficult to listen, their engagement is kind of like a bit really low, but those are right. And I would kind of like a push those kind of like a content more to the kind of like some people and things and that because it does add value to the people and things like that instead of bad content, instead of bad kind of like artifact. Okay, so that's what I'm actually focused on. Like basically is this thing that na ki, let's just say is this thing that ki like I might not gonna make kind of like a lot of mobile phone. So why do I supposed to be kind of like a somebody focus on kind of like a building a cheaper mobile phone? I should supposed to be build such a mobile phone that kind of like a highly good and polished and things, and I would kind of like sell that mobile phone to the higher prices like Apple probably. Okay, so this is what it is. Probably is this thing that na ki like 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 my platform is a kind of like a somewhat something that ki like a like it kind of like a somebody existing artifact is a kind of like a platform where kind of like a somebody existing people resonate, people like a right artifact should supposed to be pushed more to the people, not wrong artifact. And I have kind of like a several kind of like a something the like a how the artifact is actually judgment and things and that I already mentioned regarding about the previous artifact, that how does artifact is actually judged by regarding about every possible scenario, and how it thinks also. um, you cannot able to be upload at like a 5 artifact in a day, you can't. Okay, so this is what it is. Okay, another thing is that na ki artifact should supposed to be at least like a more than 5 minute. If it is less than 5, if it is kind of like a less than 5 minute, or okay, or maybe like a artifact should supposed to be more than 2 minute. Okay, because at some time you might gonna record maybe nothing, but still artifact should supposed to be kind of like a somebody more than 2 minute. Okay, 2-3 minute probably, like a more than 5 minute would be even more better. Why am I kind of like a somebody staying this thing? Because I'm staying away from the spam, because the spammers are kind of like a somebody talking less and they are kind of like a producing more. I'm kind of like a thinking that key a user kind of like a somebody cannot able to be upload at least, like I'm not really sure, but not more than 5. And obviously how should you supposed to be kind of like a record more than 5 artifacts? Definitely not. Okay, because probably you might gonna a user might gonna record artifact maybe once in a day, that's it. Okay, you cannot, as a kind of like, if you are kind of like uploading more than 5, that means you are spammer or you are kind of like something else. Okay, or maybe you have very wrong intention. So obviously is this thing that you cannot. And if you are a kind of like a genuine user and you just wanted to kind of like share every details, do not just wait, let the day over, and during the night after you ate the dinner, blunt it out everything. Okay, do not kind of like something like, if you are cannot able to wait, you are bitterly impulsive, just wait. Okay, and kind of like after the dinner at night, blunt it out everything in artifact. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is this thing that key, like artifact should supposed to be kind of like a somebody, you cannot able to be more than 5 artifact per day. Okay, and another thing is that key, every artifact should supposed to be more than kind of like a 2-3 minute probably. Okay, and if the user are kind of like a recording artifact for wrong purposes, I already have a things. Artifact actually judged by the Adam and kind of like people, 30% Adam and kind of like a 70% by people. And I already mentioned in previous, I will not gonna mention again, but still is this thing that key Adam try to figure it out. Is this Adam is a kind of like a simply algorithm, by the way, AI algorithm will kind of like understand your context, understand the sarcasm, understand things and that, and try to make sure that is this artifact is kind of like a really right. Okay, right for the people and things and that, and it kind of like give the score. And regarding about the giving the score, people are kind of like influence that score, and they will, it's a kind of like a things. Okay, and if the people are kind of like somebody using artifact for wrong purposes, in that particular situation, what do I supposed to do? I will not gonna block that particular user. I will kind of like suspend that user, that user will not gonna able to be upload the artifact, or maybe I'm making sure that uploading artifact would be even more difficult for him. Make the process little bit of difficult. Another thing is that if the government kind of like a thing is that this artifact should supposed to be, or this user should supposed to be blocked. If I have this particular system now, then probably it's not really that a third person kind of like came to me and kind of like say block this user and block that user and things and that. But still, if the government ask me to kind of like block the particular user profile, then I would have to be, because the government is a government, and I'm actually selling a services on their country. And if the government kind of like tell me to block those user or block those things, I have to be. Okay, I will not gonna block, at least like I would suspend probably, and make it little bit of harder to upload artifact on my platform. But I'm gonna make sure that this thing will not gonna happen, this solution might not gonna happen. So since the beginning, I'm kind of like making sure that bad artifact should supposed to be eliminated at the first step. Okay, and and even if the people are kind of like still kind of like even if the people are kind of like still kind of like sharing those bad artifact and things and that, so in that situation I might gonna block, but probably in very different way. Basically, because I don't really have any identity regarding about the user. Well, I was actually thinking that I might have identity regarding about their email address, because they are kind of like somebody login through Google account. So probably they are kind of like sharing their email address, but I'm not really sure how do I supposed to execute. Like, should I supposed to block the user or suspend the user? Suspend the user would be kind of like a much more better, because thoughts are relative. Your thoughts change throughout the time. Even if you're kind of like telling something stupid shit, after a kind of like a year, you are understand that oh, how fuck I was. Okay, so this is what it is. Probably I might gonna suspend and things and that probably. So this is how I kind of like control the spam and control the kind of like a coordinated attack probably. Okay, and also is this thing that now if you are trying to attacking a kind of like some user, I don't know, yeah. Let me tell you one thing. Now, like I'm actually recording artifact for past 11 years, and probably is this thing na ki, like these are kind of like some experience. You only get experience when you have running a kind of like a media company, when you have a real experience, when you have kind of like a real user with they went through this particular stuff and things and that, then I have to figure it out. But still at the moment, these are kind of like things that I might gonna do in the future. I'm not really sure how do I supposed to implement that thing. So yeah. All right, this is it.